What up? This is Coach Liebs, and this is episode 20 of Coach Talk. Game day. We're playing St. Peter's Prep tonight at home at 7 p.m. Penn State's going to be in the building, from what I've heard. James Franklin's coming to the game because there's two kids, our running back and our kicker, are Big Ten level prospects. And I think there's 2 or 3 kids on St. Peter's that Penn State's recruiting as well. So it's funny. I've never really been a part of it's my first high school game where I guess we've had a D1 coach making it known that he's going to be in attendance. And it's funny to see how all the kids react and how there's like an extra excitement to them that, I think in their mind, this is their opportunity where they all dream of playing Big Ten or D1A football. So I think in the back of all their minds, they're like, all right, this is a game where if I really show out and put on such an unbelievable performance that I dream of every night, then this, Penn State's going to offer me in this game, or there's a chance. And it's just funny to see the added excitement for everybody, knowing that there'll be a major college football program here. But I feel good, really good about the week. It's been, the message to the guys was about fighting through adversity, and it's something we've had to do all week. We had some staff changes during the week that the kids, obviously were made aware of, and they've responded brilliantly to that. And if anything, it just bonded us closer together and allowed us to become closer and really fight harder for each other. And then we also had, a lot of injuries in the wide receiver position. We had, a kid bang his knee up. Another kid had a freak injury where he split his hand open in the middle of the week. Both guys should be fine, but we've had guys take different reps. We have a plan in place to play without them, and a lot of guys got to be ready to step up. And I think it's been a cool test of our maturity and our togetherness to watch the way everyone responded and everyone had each other's back, the way that some of the kids that were injured for a couple of days this week were picking everybody up during practice and coaching guys and making sure everyone was on the same page, so that if they're not at 100%, that next guy is ready to take their place and make plays in that role. And then it was cool to see the way that a lot of these younger guys who had to step up, and I had to ask them to fill bigger roles this week, just to watch the way they responded and the way they made plays and carried themselves. And it's cool. I think we're ready to go. I think I'm happy about the way we've handled these depth issues, and I think from a focus and determination standpoint that the kids really want to win this game, as they should. But I think that their mind is in a good place. They've put in the work. As a coach, whenever you can go into a game feeling good about the work you put in during the week, like you've done what you can. Our work is done now at this point. Got to make a few in-game adjustments, do what we can to bring energy on the sideline, keep these guys motivated. But I really feel like we've done all we can as a program to put ourselves in a position to win this game. And that's all you can ask. So I'm excited to let it rip at 7 p.m. tonight under the lights. We're at home. It's gonna be a huge crowd. Should be a really, really fun night for Don Bosco football. The coach talk topic I wanted to get to, I've had more DMs than ever really this week of people asking me about my background, whether I'm a coach, how I started the Sideline Hustle, just different things like that. And I think that I'm just going to take this time to address that quickly and just give you my coaching journey briefly, kind of leading to this point, and we'll see how much time we got at the end because it's only a 10-minute episode. But basically, I got my start in coaching as a junior at Wesleyan. I was the backup quarterback. I was playing special teams. I blew my shoulder out, my throwing shoulder. So while I was rehabbing my junior year, I started, running the scout team. And then, halfway through the year, the coaches put me in charge of developing the young quarterbacks. We had 3 freshman quarterbacks then. So I started coaching them, ended up doing a really good job with them. Going into my senior year, we're still in rebuilding mode. And essentially the head coach had a conversation with me. He was like, listen, whether you win the job or not, we're going to go with one of the younger guys because they're the future of the program. This is my senior year. They're like, well, why don't you coach and we'll make you the quarterback coach. So as a senior in college, I said yes. And as a senior in college, I was the full-time quarterbacks coach for Wesleyan, for the team I had just played on just before. I'll never forget the day when I went from in pads on like a Wednesday, and then that next Thursday I came out in shorts and a t-shirt and a whistle and was coaching that next day after having, a really honest conversation with the head coach. And that was an unbelievable experience for me because it taught me how to coach at a young age. It taught me how to handle myself, more importantly, in the business. I learned that I needed to write handwritten letters to coaches often because that meant a lot. I traveled and coached at a bunch of different camps. There was a month stretch in the summer before where I slept in my car for a full month, coaching every Division I camp I could on the East Coast just to make connections and network. And I would volunteer at these camps from Duke, North Carolina, East Carolina, Virginia Tech, all the way to Boston College, and every D1 school in between. I literally volunteered at like every camp, and they're all staggered during the summer. on different days. And that was kind of how I really made my name for myself as a 20-year-old kid going into my senior year of college. And that's really where I made a name for myself and committed to the coaching profession and just made a ton of great connections that ended up helping me down the road. Then after I graduated college, I was hired at Albany as the video coordinator and offensive GA. I was paid $6,000 for the year. So I lived in, they had just built a brand new stadium named Bob Ford Field under the legendary head coach Bob Ford, who hired me. They had just built a stadium in his name. So I lived in the press box of the old stadium because he only paid me $6,000 for the year. My paychecks were like $125 every 2 weeks or something crazy like that. So Coach Ford was, he gave me a key on my first day. I was like, don't let anybody find out about this. And I lived in the press box for like 8 months, had a blow up mattress, and there was heat up there and cable. It was actually a nice little setup until they found me about 8 months later. But I worked there for a season. My first year out of college, I was the assistant receivers coach, or receivers GA, video coordinator there at Albany. And then I was hired at Rutgers as a player development coach, which is like quality control, young off the field role at Rutgers. That's when I got to work. That first year, 2014, was when we went 8-5, beat UNC in the Quick Lane Bowl, and I was able to work for Ralph Friedgen. That was the 1 year I worked for Ralph Friedgen, and I was essentially assigned to him. I was his PD. I was his right-hand man as far as helping him run quarterback meetings, helping him, with any of the administrative work as far as like drawing up plays for the players, creating a scouting report, creating a game plan. And he gave me more and more responsibility every week. He was really hard on me, and he'll tell you that he wasn't hard on me, and he was a lot harder when he was older. But, he was very demanding of me, challenged me all the time, but made sure I was learning the game of football as well, because I was only 24 years old and I didn't know much. But I worked my butt off for him and did everything I could for him. And we ended up forging a great relationship, obviously, because he's heavily involved in the Sideline Hustle now. He retired 2015. Ben McDaniels, the wide receivers coach, was promoted to offensive coordinator. Along with that, I was promoted to his right-hand man and was promoted to GA. So I was the assistant quarterbacks receivers coach and was a graduate assistant when I was 24, 25 years old. And then I was treated like a full-time coach. I was able to coach on the field. I was the eyes and ears. Ben called the game from the field, so I was up in the booth and I was his eyes and ears on game day, which was a frightening experience. So I was in charge of front coverage pressure on every single play. I had to chart it and communicate it to Ben, give him what the tendencies were, give him down and distance tendencies, personnel tendencies, all those things. And I was a real key part in how he called the game every week, and he had a lot of trust in me, and we have a great relationship to this day. That was a frightening experience, but also an unbelievably valuable experience, just because I learned so much so quickly, and there was so much pressure on me to do a job that I didn't feel like I was necessarily ready for, but I had to get ready for it, and I had to prepare the right way, and did it. I never slept. For 2 years, I literally never slept at Rutgers. I slept in the facility for 2 years at Rutgers, either on a couch in the players' lounge or under my desk or wherever. The first time I owned an apartment or was renting an apartment was when I was 25, when I went back to Wesleyan to get my master's degree. But anyway, we got fired after my second year at Rutgers. I stayed on with Coach Ash for about 4 or 5 months. Knew I kind of wanted to get out of the Division I lifestyle. Wasn't loving the lifestyle and being away from my family and all that as much as I thought I was a good coach and thought I could really make it in this profession. My family was too important to me. I felt like I was abandoning them a little bit. So I went back to Wesleyan. Didn't really know what I wanted to do. Went back to get my master's degree in writing, and then and thought I was going to write a book when I got there. And obviously I was coaching receivers there. We had unbelievable success, ended up breaking every league and school record my last year at Wesleyan, single season record. Had a bunch of just unbelievable players who bought into a culture and loved each other. And we had a ton of success in the pass game last year. And I got my master's in writing. And about a year into my time at Wesleyan, I was just thinking to myself, like, what do I want to do next? I have all these connections. I have, all this experience. How do I turn this into something valuable? And that's kind of how the Sideline Hustle was created. And I'll get more into that in another episode, but started off with the podcast with Coach Friedgen and Gary Nova and Leonte Carew and Mike Teal. And then it went to Teach Tapes, really took it off and blew up. And now we're just this overarching media company trying to educate people about the game of football and really change the way things are done and disrupt the market and just provide value to coaches and players. That's my number one goal, is just everything I do, I want to provide value to the players and the coaches that are watching and listening. So, it's been a great journey. I really love the support and the fans so much, and I can't wait to keep changing the game. So in short, that's my story. Game day tonight. This is episode 20 of Coach Talk. Have a great weekend, guys. I'll see you next week. Peace.